Okay, this is the final one I'm going to record today. I just record a few each day while I'm out here and I have the time. But I want to just, unleash a little bit of information a lot at a time and share this wisdom with you all. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about ceremony and ritual and how our culture has lost those sacred moments for us to tap in and tune in and connect to, our soul, to connect to our path, our purpose, our mission, why we're here, and to connect to the actual life that we're living so that we can be more conscious and aware of what's happening to us and what we're all going through, so that we can course correct or we can acknowledge how far we've come on our journey. And in my life experience on my awakening path, I came into the awareness of paganism and the Wicca path, working with nature and understanding, what they would call, the witchcraft and stuff like that, the stuff that people were, oh, it's the witches, it's the, sorcery or devilish and stuff like that. But if you have taken the time to research and to, read and learn, you will see that it actually is it's ancient, it's old, it's actually the original ways of living and being and communing with God, the Creator, and this beautiful planet that we're all living on together with all of these creatures, all these sentient beings, and the trees, the rocks, the animals, the insects, one another, even the sky, the dirt, everything has meaning and purpose and value. And when I was researching these and learning about ritual and ceremony, and the Native American traditions and how they would honor the cycles of change, and they would honor, the trees, they would honor the cycles of the moon or the cycles of the planet, and even honoring the cycles of being a human and what those cycles even look like. And a lot of people just, if you're not in certain cultures who do honor the different cycles that we go through, but a lot of Americans, there is no culture, no honoring of worship. There's baptism, but I don't think that has nothing to do really with our progression through life and how our body changed and how our mind changed through the different levels of growth as we all grow on the path. And I wanted my children to have some kind of ceremonies that would honor their life as they progress forward, and or even loved ones in my family who were open to participating in these ceremonies that I created. And I first learned by creating moon ceremonies and working with the cycles of moon and change, and learning to, I would use them to heal, using the moon cycles to help me heal. So during the new moons, I would set an intention for a habit that I wanted to release, or a thought or a feeling or a memory that I was working on that was painful, or that I wanted to acknowledge and move forward from. I would set an intention, and then I would work with my feelings or work with acknowledging what my experience was, and then learning to let it go. And come the full moon, that is when you release, and now you you receive the blessings of the work that you've done. You can let it go. It's a transformative experience because it connects you to who you are, and it connects you through the experiences, the life experiences that you've been through, and you just have a deeper connection with yourself, and you end up creating a deeper experience with the world around you that you're living in. You're engaging with the spiritual realm and the unseen realm, that we all take for granted every single day. So what I created, I then learned how to create, ceremony by doing that. And I wanted to do one for my children because by then I just became a parent. And, for what our culture does, we have, there's bar mitzvahs, but that's not even our culture. That's a specific spiritual or religious practice that Jewish people celebrate. But, if you're just a Christian or just the average person, there isn't anything out there for you. And What do we have? The different phases of life that I wanted to acknowledge was like for girls when we're younger and we first get our first, our first period, we come into that phase of what they term maidenhood. You're now shifting, you're growing, you're becoming more aware of your body. There's an awareness that takes place, a big shift in who we are. You're becoming somebody new, another version of yourself, and there's going to be new experiences in this new version. And so because the old version of you now has to die, you know what I mean? It's not like it's gone forever, it's just a transition, and so the old ways of being is no longer, who you are going to be now moving forward. There's going to be new experiences, new feelings, new emotions, because you're growing and you're maturing. And we don't acknowledge those. And I wanted to bring that to them so that they would be aware of what's fixing to happen to them and to prepare them for what they're fixing to go through, and to know that they're not alone and that all women have come before them, And this was something that we were, when we were doing our practice, because there was a group of us, and we were studying and taking classes, and we were all together doing this as a group. And we were researching, we came across the red tents. And back then there used to be, the women in the tribes and the communities, and this is even in the Bible, the women would go to what they would call the red tents when they were on their period. They wouldn't be part of the working duties, the washing of the clothes and the cooking and the harvesting and everything like that. They would be sent to the red tent, because then it was like, gross and disgusting, and it was shamed upon for women to have their period, something that was a normal part of our bodies. And all the women would go into the red tent, and the other women would take care of one another while they were on their menstrual cycle. They would tend to their duties and let them rest while their body was going through this process. And so it was beautiful. And we would host red tents for women who were in our community that wanted to come, and we would have these group of women, and we would all talk about what it is to be a woman, and what it's like, and how they have shamed us and repressed us for so long. And during those experiences, I wanted to give my girls something different, because I had two. And so I created a rites of passage ceremony for them, so that they would appreciate and understand that the women who have come before them, understand, and that this is a gift, this is a blessing, it's not something to be ashamed of. And to embrace it, and to know that they will be forever changed by this, and that they can, from this moment forward, they can create life from them. Women are the portal, the channel from the spiritual into the physical realm, and that this was a blessing, even though it's painful and it's uncomfortable, and it's our emotions, and hormones get crazy around that time, and how it actually cycles and syncs up with the moon, and how it connects to our emotions and everything. So, it's just very beautiful when you actually connect to it and tap into the wisdom of being a woman and being here on this planet. And so then my sister had a boy, and I wanted to give him that same thing because he lives with me, and I wanted him to have that experience. But for boys, they don't get a period, so they go through maturity differently than girls do, and it happens later in life than the females. When a female matures, that's when she has her period, that's the sign that she's ready to move forward. And for boys, their voice changes, that's how we learn. They start growing the facial hair and stuff like that. Those are the signs for us. They don't have a period, So, but that happens later, and for boys, it's usually around 17 and 18. And so I did one for him when he turned 18 to prepare him for adulthood and what it means to be now, to become a man, and gave him his own ceremony that was different than the girls. But it was still just as meaningful and beautiful. And I think I'm being led to create a book that has ceremony, that teaches ceremony and ritual. And it will include these rites of passage that I have created, because I believe that they're so beneficial for us as a human collective, and that we need to come back to those those ceremonies, those honoring of the cycles of our bodies, of our minds, of our emotions, and giving us that connection to ourselves, and so how it all connects and how we all connect, and that we're all in this, symbiotic relationship with this planet and all things that exist on it. And I also have another shift was coming into parenthood. I know we have, baby showers and stuff like that, and it's just kind of like, very just, here's some present, yay, you're going to be a mom, and there's no acknowledgement of the father. And, both parents are about to shift. They're about to come into somebody new. They've never had a child before. This is their first time stepping into that responsibility, and now you are responsible for somebody else. And what ends up happening is, like, there's this, like, a complete detachment from everything that is you, and everything is just all about the child and raising this child and sustaining this life form, and all your worries, your cares, and your concern are about this baby, this beautiful, precious life that you just brought in. And so there's like this phase that we all go through. We end up like losing ourselves. We lose touch with everything that is us because we're so giving, and all of our energy, our love, and our intention goes into somebody else. And it ends up, it changes us, and some people aren't ready for that change, and they have no idea what's happening. And, you can lose complete control, and, there can be a lot of depression, a lot of, situations in the relationship because, everybody's been raised differently. We all have different beliefs, different morals. We have different experiences, things that we didn't like that our parents did for us, and things that we did like that we experienced. And so we want to discard the things that we didn't like and bring forward the traditions and the values and the experiences that we did appreciate, that did mean a lot to us. And having those open communications with the person you're having, a child with, and being aware of what you are fixing to go through together on the journey. It's not just about the woman. It's about both of you together as a family unit, and how you can support each other through this shift into both of you becoming somebody new together. You are unifying and bringing life force, life energy, a being into this realm. So it can be very, very hard, very challenging when you don't have these tools, where you don't have this knowledge and this wisdom, and you're not prepared. And the way that our society goes about, preparing you is just, here's some cookies and cake, and here's a bunch of presents, yay, you're going to have a baby. And, it doesn't really prepare you. And the only preparation you get is from, your family and your loved ones who, try to give you their advice. And, that's what I loved about creating this ceremony, because it does include all of that. It has your family participate, and it has, your friends participate, and you are both together. And then there's everybody's acknowledging both of you together, and then there's a separation where the men and the women separate, and the men pass on their wisdom to the father, and then the women pass on the wisdom to the mother, and then they we bring them both together, and then they share in a commitment that they make to one another on the path going forward into their child. And then, of course, at the end, we have, gifts, and we have food, and we celebrate and everything like that. But there's more meaning behind it, and wisdom that is shared between everybody who's involved. So it's just very beautiful. And you think if there's any other one I've created? I don't think so, but there should be more acknowledgments about, our progression forward through life, bigger victories, not just, oh, you got a promotion or you graduated, stuff like that. Those are, I guess, what we would deem ceremonies or celebrations. It's mainly just celebrations. We call them something different. But it's all about the words, and it's all about the experience in the end. So, and the wisdom that you get from the growth, the changes, and there's retirement, right? But sometimes if there's no wisdom, it's just, yeah, you're retired. It's a big life change, and understanding the deeper meanings behind it, to retire. A lot of people, especially men, they get lost because their value, according to society, is based on what they can provide for their family and their work and what they provide, what they do, and they've built their whole life around that persona. And now if they're not that person, then who are they? They're lost. And then sometimes they just get depressed and they don't know what to do with themselves. And so there should be ceremony for that. There should be acknowledgement of how far you come. And now you're in your receiving year. You're in your receiving era. Now you get to sit back and look at how far you've come, everything you've been through. Now you get to choose every day what you want to do, and enjoying life, enjoying your family, your grandkids, or whatever like that, and just taking time to do whatever fills your heart, and having that passion. But if you've lost connection and lost touch with who you are, then you're not going to know where to even begin. I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I like, because there's a disconnect with your own being, with your own self. So I truly want to put this out there that I think most people, if they really got in touch with ceremony and ritual, they would have more of a deeper understanding instead of a judgment and condemnation about people who do, honor our life experience, honor the cycles that we all go through, the change in consciousness, the change in being, the acknowledgement of growth and appreciation for all that we are, that we go through, and all that sustains us on this path. So yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this reading, and I think I'm going to go pull out some of my old books and get out a lot of my rituals and start composing a book based on ritual and ceremony to help guide people through the changes of life and to understand and have a stronger connection with who they are. All right, I'm sending y'all lots of love. Y'all take care. Have a blessed day.